Hello everybody, it's Michael Harbridge and welcome to our live this evening. We're on a little bit later than normal. This is our new time. There will be some changes in the month of October that we'll be doing some lives along with Jessica and Kevin from ClayShare. So I'm going to give just a couple minutes here to make sure I see people are making their way into the room. Feel free to type in mystery box if you're interested in the mystery box that we have. And tonight's mystery box has a little bit to do with what we're doing tonight, and it has a little bit not to do with what we're doing tonight. So if you're not familiar with the mystery box, the way that works is if you type mystery box into the comments, my wife Janine is here. She is watching for those comments to come in. And once she sees those comments coming in, she will put your name on a slip. It'll go into a bowl, and toward the end of the live tonight, we'll draw a name out. And whoever gets their name drawn gets the opportunity to buy that mystery box for $50. And that includes shipping anywhere in the USA. If you are international, you would just pay the extra shipping that would be related to getting that to you. So, and we'll do that for about the first 10 minutes, and then we will cut that off for the mystery box, and we'll draw for that later. And the mystery box is a medium flat rate box, and it's rattling, so there's all kinds of good stuff in there, and we will draw for that later on. I got to find a spot to set that here. We'll draw for that later on tonight. If you have questions during the live, feel free to type those in. The first 10 minutes, Janine is going through, and she is... Sorry. The dogs just came in. They made their way in here.
Upset that we
I totally lost my train of thought. Anyway, so tonight, we'll draw for that later. Tonight what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the spider and the bat that you see rotating on the screen behind me. And we're going to show you both of those techniques with clay. But before we get started, I just want to talk about something. I've had a lot of questions. I've seen posts of people talking about the Cobblestone Technique that I did a while back. There's a video on how this technique is done. And this was the original piece that I did with the cobblestones. And I've had people coming to me saying that they've had some issues with the cobblestone peeling back or going back down to the bare bisque and the glaze. So I talked to Mako and I started playing around to see if I could get the cobblestone to do that. And there's two things that I did that I got it to pull back, and I got it to pull back really good. Cobblestone requires two coats, two good coats of the cobblestone to get a nice breakup. If you get that color on too heavy, this is what can happen. And I really put it on heavy here to see if that would cause the color to actually pull back, and it pulled back to the bare bisque underneath there. And then I also tried, I had a bottle that was kind of dried up, it was really thick, and I just tried adding water to it. And I put that over in this area, and I did get areas that it pulled back there. So cobblestone, you need to make sure that it's applied nice and even. Don't get it on too heavy, and if you've got old stuff that's dried up, don't try to reconstitute it and do it. So what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to pop off the loose pieces that are on here, and I'm going to try putting more of the base glaze on here, more cobblestone, and more stroke and coat, and I'm going to re-glaze fire it to see if that works to fix that. I'm just going to set these out of the way here because we don't need those. So I just wanted to get that out of the way before we get going. So tonight we're going to do the spiders and the bats, and we're going to be working with clay, and I'm going to be working with just a low fire white earthenware clay. You can do this technique with mid-range, you can do it with high fire clay, you can do it with red clay, brown clay, you can really do this with any type of clay body. So I'm just getting my clay out here, and when we do the bat or the spider, I'm going to be working with some of the clay puzzling molds to make the oval shape for the bat and one of the sphere shapes. These come in all different sizes. I've got behind me here some of the different sizes of the sphere shapes and the egg shapes back here. So for tonight, just to make this go kind of quick, I'm going to use one of the smaller ones to make a bat that is going to be about this size when it's done. So we're going to start out, if you haven't worked with the clay puzzling molds, whoops, they are ceramic fist. They're two-part molds. We're going to open that up, and we're going to work inside those molds. I'm going to flip the camera down here. Like I said, I've just got low-fire earthenware clay here, and I'm going to break off pieces of this clay. I'm going to pinch it between my fingers. I want it to be about 1/4 of an inch thick. If I'm working with a larger shape, I'm probably going to go a little bit thicker, and I'm going to press it inside the mold right up to the seam line. And I'm going to do this on both halves and try to keep it fairly uniform in thickness. Once I've got the clay pressed in there, I'm just going to take my finger and really mash this together and get rid of anywhere that those clay pieces overlap. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now, if I was using some real large shapes, I would probably do this a little bit thicker. I might go up to 1/2 inch thick if I was doing a real big shape.
Real quick, some people have commented that they might be having some problems, and I'm watching it on my device too, and it continually keeps getting interrupted, but I think that's just sometimes, like it pauses and then says this live feed is interrupted, it should resume shortly. It just does it for a second or two.
Let me just look at our internet connection here and see. Yeah, if there's...
I mean, it continues real quickly, but I'm seeing it too. So if anybody's seeing that, it is kind of...
Yeah, and for some reason the internet here... No, I've got 5 bars here, so it's not the internet on our end. It looks good. Sometimes Facebook is a little goofy with that, and sometimes, you guys, the recording is fine.
Yep,
and
so sorry about that. I see it too, but yeah, there's not much here that I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not.
It resumes real quickly. It pauses for just a split second. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's got to be something going on with Facebook tonight. So. Once I've got both halves of the mold filled in, I'm just going to take either a needle tool or a wooden tool, and I'm going to scrape away any clay that comes up over the seam line. I don't want the clay going over the top of that seam line, and I don't want to see lines where those pieces of clay here overlap one another. So I'm going to do that. And then to connect the two halves, I'm going to take and make a coil of clay, and it doesn't have to be a perfect coil. Usually I say about the thickness of my pinky, and I'm going to run that around inside the mold on just one of the halves. I don't want it sticking way up above, and I don't want to plug up the opening in the bottom of the mold here. I'm going to put the two halves together. I'm going to wrap the Velcro around there. And then on the inside, I want to press that coil to attach the two halves together. So I'm going to reach inside. This one's small enough that I can do it with my finger. When I do the sphere shape, I'm going to show you using a tool. And what I'm doing is I'm squishing that coil to attach the two sides together. And I don't want to feel that coil, so I'm just going to run my finger around in here and make sure that that's pressed well. I'm going to take that Velcro off, give the mold a wiggle, and I've got my egg shape. Now I can just flip it over in my hand and pop that out. Now there's usually a seam line where that piece goes together, and I'm going to take just a flexible metal rib. I can use a wooden tool, and I scrape away the excess clay and kind of fill in any gap that is there. Where the puzzling is, where the lines are, I can take that flexible metal rib and I can just kind of drag that across and smooth that out. This doesn't need to be perfectly smooth because we're going to be adding some things on here. So I'm just getting rid of most of the big openings. If I've got a little opening here, I can take a pinch of clay or a little gap. I can take a pinch of clay and mash that together on there. And so I've got my basic egg shape. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to set the mold aside here. We're going to do the same thing for the spider. We're going to take the round sphere, and I'm going to take pieces of clay. I'm going to press them into each half and make a nice round shape. Normally, when you would be attaching pieces of clay together, you would be doing scoring and slipping, but because we're pressing this against the bisque form, and we're going like this and we are squishing and mashing that clay together, we don't need to worry about scoring and slipping. You don't want to get this clay real wet in here because then it can kind of stick. The molds are ceramic bisque, and if you get them real wet, it just is a little bit harder to get the pieces out. Going to do the same thing to this other side. We're going to fill this all in, again, staying about 1/4 inch thick. And if I wanted, I always have people, they ask, they're like, well, could I roll a slab of clay and just do a slab of clay in here? And I'm like, yeah, you could. But when I'm out doing workshops, I don't always have rolling pins and ways for people to roll slabs, or I don't have a slab roller. And so tonight I do have a slab roller here that I'm going to use when I make the wings. Again, I'm squishing this all together so I can't see where those pieces of clay meet. I'm going to take and scrape away any clay that sticks up above. Got a little area here on the mold that's not filled in, so I'm going to squish some clay on there and really mash that together. Yep, question?
Do you sell the mid-fire cobblestone?
I do have the mid-fire cobblestone in stock. I don't think we have it on the website yet. But it comes in pints, and I believe we have white and black in that. And so if you're looking for that, if you're looking for any Mako products, we have pretty much everything in stock right now. Just shoot me a message, and I can usually get the item that you're looking for up on the website within a fairly reasonable amount of time so that you can actually order those. So I've added my coil in here the same way now. When you get to bigger molds, sometimes when you flip them over, that clay wants to pop out. So a lot of times I'll put my fingers over it, so when I flip it, and then when I have it together, I pull my fingers out, put the Velcro strap on here, pull it nice and snug. And now to get inside here, I can use my fingers to get in a little bit, but I can't get all the way down in there. My fingers aren't quite long enough, so I use the press tool. It's got a little light on it, and I can take that tool and I can work that inside and use that to squish that coil to attach it to the other side. And sometimes I can get it just right in here that you guys can see inside with the light shining, but it's really hard to get that in the camera, but it's really easy for me to see inside here as I'm working my way in there, and I'm just using the wood ball end inside this little mold to squish that coil and attach the two halves. Now I could do, on small ones like this, I could take 2 pinch pots and put them together to make a sphere shape or an egg shape. Just going to feel what I can in there. Yep, it feels like it's together well. I'm going to give it a wiggle, and I've got my round shape. Pop it out, put this mold aside, use the metal rib to take off that seam line.
What size are the molds?
The sphere shapes come from 2 3/4 inches all the way up to 10.5 inches are the largest size, and there's every size in between. There's 8 different sizes. The egg that I'm working with is I think it's about 3 3/4, and goes all the way up to 15, 16 inches, I think the largest egg shape is. I did put together on the website some assortments of just the smaller sizes. So the eggs, there's 3 sizes, and the spheres, we did 4 of the smaller sizes, like up to a 6-inch. There's also the next size up is about an 8-inch, and that can, or you can buy them individually, or you can buy them in assortments. There's actually an assortment of the spheres that has all 8 of the sizes in that assortment. And fortunately, we are caught up on spheres. I actually sent out one order of them today that caught us up on all of the spheres currently. And the eggs, too, we're ahead on those a little bit. And the spheres, too, we've got a bunch of them cast, and we just need to clean and fire those, and we will be ahead on those as well.
Their iPad has interruptions, but their phone does not. Some people have no problems. It just must be kind of a glitchy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
there are people who aren't having any problems.
Okay.
Do you sell the press tools?
We do sell the press tools as well. Yes, we do. Those are on our website, learnfiredarts.com. All of the stuff that I'm pretty much using tonight, you'll find on the learnfiredarts.com website.
If someone's asking for a specific item, should they message you later?
Yeah, if there's a specific item, I usually try to get through the comments later in the evening. Otherwise, just send me a private message, and it's easier that way if it's something real specific that you're looking for.
Oh, and Diane, we will send international. We just have to give you a specific quote on what the cost of that is. There are some, it's quite costly.
International shipping, our website is set up based on the weight, and so when we get into these molds, sometimes for international, we have to pack them a lot better and differently for international in bigger boxes because they're going so far and have so many stops, and so the boxes get bigger and the shipping gets more costly than what it costs us to ship here in the U.S. Plus, international is just more expensive. So, yeah, just send me a message with your shipping address, and I can easily run a quote on that with the items that you're looking at. I can run you a quote on that and get that to you pretty quickly. All right. We're going to work first on the spider.
Belinda still has her spider she made a few years ago in the
Oh, that's good. Yep, we did do the spiders in Fresno. We did a lot of good workshops in Fresno. So I've got my ball here. It looks like Janine just motioned that she's cutting off the mystery box for the evening. She's got everybody's names so far that are in there. She's got their names on the slip, and it looks like she's got a long list tonight. So, all right, so we got the ball sphere shape. The door out there is closed. You have to let them out the patio door. You can't let them out in there. That's why they're whining. The dogs are trapped in the kiln room. I've got the doors to the outside closed, and they've been open for most of the summer. Now she opened the patio door, and the screen door was there, and they slammed their heads into the patio door. All right, so the legs on the spider, you can roll them by hand, or you can use a clay extruder. I personally really like using the clay extruders. We've got 2 different types. We've got the Kemper one, which is a little bit longer, and then we've got the Nidec Shimpo one, which is a little bit shorter. They both come with different dies, and that shows on the website which ones come with them. The main difference is the length of the barrel. The trigger is basically the same. The dies that come with it and the length of it is the main difference between them. The Shimpo one, and all of the dies are interchangeable between the two, and we have them all back in stock. This Nidec Shimpo one, we've been out of this one for quite a while. We have so many orders for it. That one is in stock now, and the Kemper one. And so the way it works is the end comes off on here, and the different dies fit into the end. So for this spider's legs, I'm going to use this large circle because I can make just solid coils for legs of this size of a spider. Now, if I'm doing a bigger size, then the legs, I can't do, legs that are this thick. I could, but they will take forever to dry, and they'll be really, really heavy, and lifting it and moving it, it's going to cause a lot of stress on there. So on smaller ones, I can go up to this largest hole that comes with the Shimpo one. This also comes with the Kemper extruder. But if you need to do bigger ones and you need hollow legs, Shimpo has these hollow dies, and the way this works is you drop your clay inside here, and then this slides into the end, and then this die goes in, and when you have clay inside here and you squeeze it through, it comes out as a hollow tube. So this causes a hollow tube of clay to come out, and there is a smaller one and a larger one, and they actually come in a kit that has like octagon and oval shapes, and I believe square shapes and triangular shapes that it will extrude hollow coils. So on bigger ones, I use this die. On the one that I'm working with tonight, I'm going to just use the standard large round die that comes with it. To load this extruder, I push in on this trigger, pull back on the plunger, and by pulling back on this, it opens up the inside so I can drop clay down inside here. So I'm going to take a chunk of clay, and I don't need a lot for the legs on the spider, so I'm just going to take a piece like this, and I'm going to squish it together and make kind of a tube that I can drop down into the extruder, push that in, tear off the excess, and then put my die inside, put the end on, and then I can squeeze this trigger, and by squeezing that trigger, it goes real easy at first, and then it starts to get a little tighter because then the clay is coming out the end. Sometimes you'll get a little bit of air in there, and you'll get a little bit of popping. So I'm going to use a foam pad here to put my clay on. I like these craft foam pads for clay because they don't absorb a lot of moisture, and I can take and extrude long coils right onto the surface, and the clay won't stick and it won't dry up, and it's smooth so it won't add texture. So I've got my coil here, and then I need to add or cut the legs for the spider. So I need to determine how long I want these legs to be. And so I usually take and kind of go like this and be like, okay, that's about the length that I want. So I've got one, then I just lay the coil next to it, I cut off another, and I probably didn't put enough clay in there to get all of these, we'll see. 4, 5.
Scott Creek hand extruder.
They do fit the Scott Creek as well, yep, they do.
A couple people have that one.
Yeah.
And then, can you just, there's somebody brand new who's a little bit late and just wonders why everyone's saying mystery.
So yeah, it's kind of crazy. Everybody's saying mystery box, and if you haven't been in before, the reason they're saying that is we have a mystery box, which is a medium flat rate box, and we fill it full of goodies, and each live we do a drawing toward the end of the live, and that box usually has over $100 worth of product in it, and whoever's name is drawn has the option to purchase it for $50. And then if you're international, you would just pay the shipping. If you're anywhere in the U.S., it's a medium flat rate box of goodies, and we ship that to you for free. Now, with the extruder, sometimes I have people, most people will hold it like this, like a gun, and squeeze that trigger. If you have a hard time, if your hands aren't big enough, they're not strong enough, sometimes I will take and turn it upside down because I can grab this lever a little bit better and squeeze it. Or if I really have a hard time, I can set this with that plunger down on the table, and then I wrap my hand around the end so as that coil comes out, it doesn't get caught on the edges, and then I can take and I can get better leverage by pushing down with my hand on that trigger. If you have a hard time with it, you can use, there's that popping when there's a little bit of air inside the gun. Now I've got way more clay than I need for this, but that's okay. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 legs. Now I can take and kind of round the one end of this leg or I can bring it, if I want it more of a point, I can kind of bring it to a pointed end. We're going to do these a little bit more pointed. And we're only doing it on one end of the coil.
Some people are commenting that they really like the new time, and I said it's kind of several months that it's going to be like this, so
Yep.
definitely.
Yeah, I know it gets a little bit late for our East Coast people, but I know a lot of the West Coast people couldn't ever make it in for the live, so we switched it up a little bit, and we'll do it this way for a while. Okay.
Before bed at 10.
Now, the spider, we're going to do all the work on the body before we add the legs, because it's easier to add our texture, it's easier to add our eyes. And so for the eyes, I'm going to cut off 2 pieces of clay that are about the same thickness. And the reason I do it from a coil is because if I just take a piece of clay and I pull a piece off and I make a ball with it and I pull another piece off, I usually have one that's bigger than the other. By cutting the coil, I usually get pretty close to the same size or the same amount of clay, so I end up with about the same size of an eyeball.
Someone wants to know what the secret for smooth extrusions is. They get imperfect coils or handles with their extruder.
It's a couple things that might affect it is what type of clay you're working with. If it's a really groggy, sandy clay, you can get a more uneven coil. If it's a smoother clay, generally you'll get a smoother extrusion out of the extruder. It could be if your clay is real dry or real, semi-hard. If it's not nice and creamy, you can get a little bit more texture on there as well. All right, to add the eyes, I'm just going to take, and this is the bottom of the piece, I'm going to determine where the eyes are going to be, and I just take my thumbs, whoops, I just split this open. I guess I didn't have that pressed real good. We're going to go back and reattach this. As I pushed in on it where the seam line was, it wanted to bust open. So from the inside, I'm going to run my finger to make sure that that coil on the inside is attached real well. And I can do what I call a Band-Aid on the outside. So if I have an area where it wants to split open, I just take a thin piece of clay, flatten it out, and I call it a Band-Aid because then I take and I put it over that area where that joint was, and then I mash it into the clay. And that will cover up where that seam line was, and you won't get that where it wants to split open. Sometimes it'll happen if you make the piece a little too thin, or if you add a lot of pressure. And just taking my fingers and pushing it into this clay, the clay that I started out with was the end of a bag, and the pieces were, that clay's a little bit firmer, where this other clay that I'm working with that's fresh is really nice and soft and really squishy and really pliable. All right, so I put my Band-Aids on there. Now I'm going to take my thumbs and I'm going to press them in. Whoops, that clay is really stiff. I'm going to press it in to make a little bit of an indentation where those eyes are going to go in. And then I'm going to use some slip to attach those eyes. So I've got a jar of slip here. And you always want to make sure that the slip that you work with is compatible with the clay that you're using. And this particular clay is a little fire white, so I know that my casting slip works with it. If I was using a different clay body, I would take and let some of this clay dry up, and I would put it in water after it dries up and make kind of a slurry or a slip with it. I'm going to score the area and use my retractable scoring tool just to score where these eyes are going to go, and then I'm going to score the back side of the eyes. I'm going to put a dab of slip, another dab of slip, and then where the score marks are, I'm going to attach it, and I'm going to take and I'm going to kind of twist it to lock it together. Those score marks are in there so that you kind of get those areas to go to lock together by giving it a little twist. Then I'm going to make eyelids and that is just taking a piece of clay and flattening it, and I've kind of got almost like a dome shape here, and so I will take and put that over the top of the eyeball, and then I will mash this into the head of the spider so that I've got that little bit of clay overlapping, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. Again, I'm not worried about this being perfectly smooth at this point because we're going to add a lot of texture to this piece. I kind of covered that eye up more than the other one, so I'm going to open that up a little bit so I can see that eyeball in there. And then I want to cut a mouth, and so I'm going to take my needle tool and I'm just going to cut into this and cut the mouth as big as I want it to be, and I'll remove that piece of clay. That clay is really stiff. I'll smooth out around the mouth, and if I want to add a little tongue to my spider like the sample that I showed, I can take a little piece of clay and form a tongue as big as I want it to be. I can use a needle tool or wooden tool to kind of make that little mark down the middle, and then I can take and figure out where it's going to go in there. I will score where it's going to attach. I'll score the back side of the tongue, add a little bit of slip, and then attach that. And I'll usually use like a wooden tool. I always call this my tongue depressor because it's kind of got that rounded shape to it, and I'll usually use that to go inside the mouth and kind of press that, and then from the inside I can go in, and I made it a little bit longer than it needed to be. I can go in and squish that and really attach it on the inside. This one just keeps wanting to split open on that seam line. That first clay I used is so stiff. I should have just thrown that away, but I'm like, oh, use this little bit up. So I've got my tongue, I've got my eyes. Now the texture on the spider you can do using the scoring tool, just by going and scratching lots of lines, or I like to use this wire brush. This one has a little bit more, gives more lines. There's more wires in here than the retractable scoring tool has, and so I can run this over, and this is why it didn't really matter if this piece had texture or wasn't perfectly smooth. And I'm going to go all the way around on him or her and just scratch this texture into the piece. All these little pieces of clay, a lot of them are falling off onto my surface here. I'm not worried about trying to get all of those little chunks off at this point. Once this piece dries, it's really easy to go back and just rub your hand over it, and all those little pieces will fall off. And so I want this texture to be everywhere on my spider except basically his eyeballs and his tongue. So I'm just going to work my way around. And I try to kind of follow the contour of the piece. So I don't just have lines randomly going in every direction on here. So you'll see, like by the eyes, I'm kind of going below the eye, and I'm pulling down to the bottom. I'm going back onto the top of his head, and I'm going to pull it to the tip of his eyelids, kind of coming out from the middle. All right, so we've got our textured little guy. Now the legs, I'm going to do the same thing. Oops, that's my needle tool, not my texture tool. I'm going to do the same thing to the legs, and I'm just doing this down on the surface, and I'm just holding it on the one end and then running the tool across as I turn this, adding texture over that leg, and do it on the tip.
Someone's saying they could see it into a frog too.
Oh yeah, you can do, I've actually done frogs as well. And I've used different shapes. You know, it's, you can look at the sphere shapes or the egg shapes as a ball or an egg. But when you start really looking at other pieces and, you know, look at other shapes. The other day, I was thinking with the gourds of making chickens. These sphere shapes, I'm going to be doing a live this winter sometime, making snowmen, stacking the sphere shapes together. The eggs we've used to make giraffes. They work great for the bodies. I've used the sphere shapes for dogs, cats. I did human heads one time, and they were just really creepy. So I wouldn't suggest doing human heads. All right, so we're just adding this texture to all of the legs. Now, if I was doing the hollow tubes of clay using the extruder, if I was doing a bigger piece, I would also be doing this texture, but you have to be kind of careful how much pressure you put on those hollow pieces because they're kind of thin, and so you gotta kind of be gentle with them. And I'll extrude out a little piece of a hollow tube so you guys can see that in a few minutes here.
Have you ever made ghosts?
You know, I tried doing ghosts, and I started out using the cone shapes, and I tried doing it and bending the tops over on them, and they just reminded me of hoods on a Ku Klux Klan. It just, no matter what I did, they kept reminding me of that, and I just was kind of like, because, you know, sometimes in your head, something, you know, oh yeah, I could do ghosts, and I could do that cone shape, and then bend the top over, and they just didn't seem right, and so I never really did anything more with them. Now, my spider, I want the legs to kind of come out from the bottom of the spider. So what's kind of nice is I've basically already scored the end of this that I could just take and slip these on and attach them and bend them up. But I really want good support, so what I'm actually going to do is take and place these on the board that I'm going to leave them on, and I'm going to set 4 legs for this side and 4 legs for this side with the pointed ends sticking out. And then I'm going to take, and I'm going to basically pinch this together coming in from the ends. I'm going to pinch it in, and then I'm going to just kind of mash this and squish it together in the middle, and then I'm going to flip it over so that I can really squish it together on this other side and mash it. Now, I could have just done long coils, 4 long coils, and made each side pointed. That would work as well. Now this middle area is kind of smooth. I'm just going to kind of set my body on top of there. I'm going to rescore this area. I'm going to make sure that the bottom of my piece is scored well. And I'm going to take slip. I'm going to brush it over this area.
Someone says you should drop a spider on the floor and step on it or drown it in ortho spider killer.
Oh, this is a cute spider. I don't like spiders either, but these spiders I can handle. Now, when I set him on there, I'm going to kind of give it a twist again to kind of lock together the score marks on there. And what I usually do is I'll go like this, and I'll go and I'll try to pick it up. And if the piece stays together, I know that I've got it scored and stuck together well. Then I'm just going to take the legs, and I'm going to start bending them up and pointing them out in the shape that I want them to be. and I can spread them out as far as I want. And we've got our little spider. And so he's, whoops, I'm tipping him and he's going to fall off of here. But that's basically our spider. I'm going to actually flip the camera up here. So you guys, I can hold it up and you can see this a little bit better, how he came out and how I've got the legs. Now sometimes people want to put slip on the back side of the legs in here so that when they so that the leg that comes up on the body there, that they stick better, and you are certainly welcome to do that. My guy's a little crooked here. I'm looking at the monitor there. We'll straighten him out a little bit. All right, and that's basically your spider. I've had people add bows on top of the head. They've done different things, but the one thing that you want to do, because we have, when we put the legs on the bottom, it covered up the hole that was in the bottom. So we want to use the needle tool, and we want to poke a hole in here somewhere so that the moisture can get out of the piece when it's fired. And so I'll usually kind of go on the back side and I'll poke a hole through, and I actually poke the needle tool in about that far so that there is an opening in the back so that the moisture and the air can get out of the piece. So that is our little spider. And we're going to set him aside, and we're going to go to the bat. We've got our egg shape here. And now the wings on the bat, you can do rolling out with a rolling pin using, slats of wood with clay in between here, and using that rolling pin, which I didn't even bring a rolling pin. I thought I brought a rolling pin out here. I didn't even bring one out because I knew I was going to use the slab roller. But you would use a rolling pin to go over this. I usually will put another piece of the craft foam over the top so that the clay doesn't stick to the roller. But I'm actually going to flip the camera over to the other side here, and I'm going to show you guys using the slab roller. Grab the clay and take this over. Now the nice thing about the wings is you can do really any shape that you want on the wings. You guys might get shots of the dogs down here by my feet. I can see Daisy's tail wagging down there. Using a slab roller, what I like about it is, especially with this Nedic one, is it's adjustable. So these levers on the sides can be moved, and then there's a gauge here that goes from 1 inch all the way down to 0, and so it adjusts where this roller is for the thickness. And I'm going to go a 1/2 inch thick on these wings, and you might think that seems extreme, that's very thick for the wings, but we're going to put some texture in here as well. So when you go to feed it through, you usually want the end that's going to go through first kind of pressed down. And I'm actually going to do it this way because I want it to be longer. So I'm going to squish this end down, flatten it out, and then I put another piece of the craft foam on top, and there's a handle on here, a crank handle, that I will take to turn it, and I feed that through, and it pulls it through, and it flattens out the coil. Yeah, there you can see there's Domino. He's always at my side.
Mike would be happy to know that I see it continuously pausing on my iPad, which some of you have mentioned, but on my Samsung phone, it's not doing that. It must be an Apple.
Must be an Apple thing. I'm not an Apple person, so.
Our girls always give us hard times about that.
So now I've got, my basic slab here that's about the size that I want for my wings, but I want to give them a little bit of shape. And so I'm going to use just a wooden tool, and I'm going to kind of cut this out, come down in the middle, and then go up on this end and kind of round this and put that excess clay aside. And then I'm going to pick out some type of texture. And so I brought all kinds of different texture things here. I'll show you guys. This was one that I found a couple years ago. It was a table runner. I found it at Hobby Lobby, and it was leaf designs. This one would be great for texture. Many of you have seen this one. It's also a table runner. I found it at Hobby Lobby, and it's like foam, and these are great texture. I found this one too that was Spiderweb, which I think we may use because look at this, is almost perfect. I do not sell these.
The slab rollers.
Oh, the slab rollers. I do sell the slab rollers. We've got the slab rollers in stock right now. And if we do run out, Shimpo or Nedic has more in stock. I'm so used to calling it Shimpo. It's been Shimpo forever. And then they changed the name a couple years ago. And this is a placemat that had some cool design on it. This is kind of a plastic flexible material. So all of these would work, but I thought the Spiderweb one would be kind of neat. So I'm going to flip this around so that I can feed this through. And what I'm going to do though is I'm going to press the edges of this down, and instead of going through the slab roller with it, because I want the edges of the wings to be tapered and not so thick and clunky, I'm just going to take and press this in with my hand so that I can round those edges. And then I'm just going to work my way across this and make sure that when I press this in, the felty material that this is made with is kind of flush with the clay so that I get a nice impression of the spider web in my wing. The wings don't need to be perfect, that it's symmetrical, and I know that's difficult for some of us, but it's okay if it's not perfectly symmetrical, because we're going to kind of drape this around. All right, I can pull that out, and I've got this kind of fun, cool texture in the wings. Now, if I wanted the texture on the backside, I could have taken this and put it underneath and then folded it over so I'd have the texture on both sides. I don't really care if there's texture on the backside or not. So I'm going to take this back over to my other spot, and we will add this to the body. Get everything repositioned here. All right, get all these extra tools out of the way. All right, now I'm going to flip this around so that you guys see it. I'm seeing it upside down, but you guys will see it right side up. So my body is going to fit onto the wings here, but I want to do all the things to this that I did to the spider. So it's the same thing for the eyes. I'm going to press my thumbs in to make an indentation. I'm going to take and roll some eyeballs. I'm going to score. Sometimes if I make those indentations real deep, the retractable one doesn't work as well, so I'm going to use this one. It's amazing how many different scoring tools we have in our work boxes. Oops, I'm scoring. I'm going to take slip, add a little bit of slip on each one, add the eyeball, give it a little twist as I put that in, make my eyelids, press it over the top, squish it into the head, do the other eyelid, wish you guys could be here to see Janine entertaining the dogs. They're wrestling over here, and she's like, really? All right, so we've got the eyes. We're going to take and cut out the mouth. This one, too, is that really stiff clay. The dogs are being naughty, not me. And then I can kind of take and smooth this. And then I'm going to make my little fangs, just taking a little piece of clay, making kind of a triangle. I'm going to flatten the top and make kind of a little triangle shape, and I'm going to make a couple of those. And I'm going to score where those will attach on the top of the mouth.
You said the slab rollers are on the website, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yep, they're under equipment. We kind of moved some stuff around,
I
and
could find it.
yeah, we added the slab roller in the equipment area, and the extruders are in there now, and I don't remember what else we put in that area. And I can attach my fangs. I've scored, I've slipped. And I can make the fangs as big as I want, and then I will just kind of squish them into the body as well. And then
Gremlins.
the ears on here, yeah. Then the ears I will take, and if you want kind of uniform ears as far as, you know, how much clay you use on them, again, you can take that coil and you can cut pieces of that, and then I pinch this into a triangle. I kind of flatten it, and then I kind of pinch, so on the sides here, I kind of press in with my thumb and pull up with my fingers so that I get kind of an edge pinched up on here. You can kind of see that, and I do that on both sides. So that it kind of dips down in the middle, and I bring it to a nice point. I usually make this a little bit bigger than it needs to be, and on this end, I kind of flatten this so that it tapers, because this is going to get kind of added on. And you can make the ears as long and as silly as you want. I've had people make them really long, and then they kind of curl them around and do some fun things with them. So have some fun with this. Going to pinch the edges. Taper this end, and then I'll usually just kind of hold them next to each other and see. This one is a little bit longer, so I'm just going to pinch a little bit of that off. Again, if I had one ear a little bit longer, it's a silly looking bat. So then I'm going to take, and I'm going to attach this on the top, and because I'm going to take and I'm going to squish this into the body, I don't really need to score and slip. So I put this on, and then I squish it back into the body. Do the same thing with the other one. This one actually isn't as wide as the other one. I'm going to make this a little bit wider. I'm just going to pinch it a little bit more to make it a little wider. The same thing on the other side. So if you're thinking dogs, cats, other types of animals, you know, they usually have some type of ears, maybe not quite this long and pointy. And from the back side, I'm just making sure that that's really squished in well. And this will be the body that will lay on my wings. Now, where I'm going to attach these, I'm going to score basically the whole backside of the bat, because I'm going to kind of wrap this around, and then I'm going to score this area where he's going to attach. And then I'm going to take my slip, and I'm really going to dab a good amount of slip where the score marks are. And I'm going to take my body, and I'm going to kind of wiggle it as I lock that together. And then I'm still working on the craft foam, and I take my hand under the craft foam to kind of lift that wing up and attach it to the body and kind of squish that side, and then I'll do the same thing with the other side. This way I'm not picking up and I'm not handling the clay wings. Now I can peel this away. I'm going to get my board ready here. My bat is going to sit on, and I can lift this up and I can stand him up. Now I do have to turn him around and look at him this way. And I'm going to take and I'm going to bend this back part in and mash this into his body so it's attached really well. And then I can just kind of play around with these wings and kind of fold them down a little bit on the bottom. You can see I'm kind of pushing down a little bit with my fingers and bringing in on the back so that this piece will stand. You have to be careful that you don't get it too back heavy, that the wings are straight out, because then it could flip and roll backwards, or if you have it too much to the front, it could fall forward. So kind of manipulate that, and you can make those wings to be kind of however you want them. Squish this in. Most of you know that I don't generally have water on tables and workshops when we're working with clay, because people tend to overdo it with water on clay and their pieces end up collapsing. So I always tell people you can go back after the piece is dry, and I can go back on his body and get rid of kind of the rough areas with just a wet brush. All right, so this is, I'll show you the back side. Now on the very bottom here, whoops, on the bottom it's kind of bulging out there. So I'm going to take and I'm going to push this in. I can also use my wooden tool, which is here somewhere. I think I used it over here with the, there it is, it's buried under the, so I can use my tongue depressor, see if I can do this in the camera, and kind of go in on the bottom and kind of squish that into the body and press that so it's attached really well all the way around on the bottom of the piece. So that's it for our bat, and you can have a lot of fun with the textures on those wings. Play around with that. Play around with different sizes. That's one of the smallest eggs back here behind me. This is the set of 3 sizes of eggs that I usually use. So this is the smallest one that I just used for this bat. This is the next size, and then this is the next size. So we've got an assortment of the 3 different size eggs on the website. And then the spheres that are behind me here, we used like this size, which is about a 3 1/4 inch size. We go all the way up to, in the assortment, there's 4. There's the 2 3/4 inch, the 3 1/2 inch, the 4 1/4 inch, and then the 6 inch size. This one is just showing the next size up is the 7 to 8 inch sphere, and then we go up to a 9 inch, and then we go up to a 10 1/2 inch sphere. So that is the basics. I don't know if there are any other questions that have come up. While Janine's checking to make sure there are no other questions.
I thought it would be cool to light it up.
You know, I thought about lighting it up, and I was looking at those punches, like the star punches and the flower punches and the heart punches, and I was even thinking in the bat's wings of cutting out some shapes and stuff in there. And the spider too, I thought about doing that too, where there'd be holes in it or stars and different things in it. I want to let you know that, again, the Shimpo extruders, these are back in stock. They've got different dies that come with them. Oh, I was going to show you guys too the hollow dies, how that kind of works. So this is the Nidec Shimpo. I've still got one that says Shimpo on it because I've had this one for years and years. And so I'm going to take off this die. I'm going to pull the plunger back to open this up. I'm going to drop some clay inside here. Let me grab a little bit more clay. I'm going to squish this into a nice tube that will go down inside the barrel. But I don't want to go all the way to the top. With these plain flat dies, you can just break off this clay at the top. You want to break it off a little bit further down because with the hollow dies, this whole thing needs to fit inside here. So that clay can only come to about here. So I've got the clay broken off down there. So this will drop inside. The extra ring will drop down inside the screw-on attachment here. Put that on, and I've got, and you'll start to see the clay making its way, and you get a nice hollow, and I'll usually, and you know what, I use some of that stiff clay and some of that smooth clay when I squish that together, but I'll get a nice hollow coil of clay coming out. And once I've got a section, now this is the large hollow tube. Once I've got a nice section of that, I'll kind of gently bend that out, but you can see that that is hollow. And I'll cut off the end where it started. And if I'm doing the legs for the big spider, like you see back on the screen, I will take the end of that and I will just kind of take and pinch this together. And so I just kind of work my way back and forth to kind of bring this to a point and close up that end. And then I just kind of drag and mash the clay to bring it kind of to a point and close up. And so that would be the tip of the leg that then would kind of go like this, and it would kind of bend around like this and attach to the spider. Doing the same way of laying them out, squishing them together, laying the body on top of it. Now, you have to be careful because sometimes as you bend these legs, the hollow legs, you will get areas like this where this might close up. And so you've got air in here and moisture that can get trapped in here, and then there's another area in there. So when you start doing bigger legs on the spiders, and if you suspect that this gets closed up here and that the air can't freely get through, you need to take that needle tool and somewhere in those areas, just poke a little hole in there. It doesn't need to be real big, but you want to have it so that the air and the moisture can get out of the inside of those legs, like you see on the guy that's rotating on the screen behind me there. All right. When you texture these, it's the same. You know, I would have these laying out straight before I bent them, and I would use that tool to also add texture to these. Sometimes after you get it bent, you have to go back and add a little bit more texture here and there, but it's a lot easier to do when they're laying out flat than it is once they've, you know, been bent like this. So that's how those work. That hollow extruder also works great for doing like the legs on the giraffes and stuff. I did do a video back in, I want to say November or December of last year of doing the giraffes, and I think I actually showed the spiders on that one as well. So that is, you got questions?
Someone is wondering if you can get craft foam in a wider and longer length. And, the craft foam.
Oh, the craft foam,
and
yeah.
do you think you could use these bigger sheets of craft foam in place of a canvas on a standard size slab roller?
Yeah, so I did find at Michael's, and I don't know if they still have them, but I found in the aisle where the craft foam and the felt and all that stuff was, they had some big, they were like 48 inches by probably 24-inch pieces of that craft foam, and it was rolled up in a tube. And it was kind of, I kind of discovered it by accident one time, and I've actually got a roll of it back in my workroom now that I think about it, and I kind of forgot that it's back there, so I'm gonna have to pull that out. But yeah, they do have it in bigger sheets. If they don't have it at some place like Michael's or Hobby Lobby or some of the craft stores, I'm sure you can go online and probably find, if you type in, large craft foam, you can probably find it. There are, slab mats. I know that Bailey pottery with their slab rollers. I also have a Bailey slab roller, and they have a smooth material that's similar to the slab mat. And the slab mat is really nice because it's also smooth versus canvas. Canvas will leave texture. The foam, the slab mat, or the ones that Bailey has with their slab rollers, it's actually smooth linoleum, because I was looking at it and I'm like, why does this look familiar? And when we ripped all the flooring out of our house, I saw the backside of the linoleum is this real dull matte finish. And so I think what they do is they buy linoleum and they cut it into the sizes that they need. In the inside of that pocket that where the clay goes is the backside of the linoleum. The shiny side is facing out on it. And so, there's no texture on the ones that they have. And I don't know for sure that it's flooring linoleum or some other material that they get, but that is basically, I think, what their slab mats are on their pieces.
And someone was just asking how they find your free videos.
So the free videos, I've been saving all of the videos on my on my business page, which is learnfiredarts.com. So if you go up into the search field in Facebook and you search learnfiredarts.com, not to be confused with Learn Fired Arts. Learn Fired Arts was a Facebook page that we started years ago when we were doing workshops in Fresno, California, and I was hosting all the registration on my website, and then we set up the Facebook page that was Learn Fired Arts. So you won't find them at Learn Fired Arts, but learnfiredarts.com. When you search on Facebook, it'll bring up my business page. And so that way I can share the videos on that page, and all I put is like tonight I will do, clay bats and spiders. So it's really easy when you scroll down the page, and it's not buried in between hundreds of other types of postings and things. So you will find those on the learnfiredarts.com Facebook page. I also want to let you guys know that the Poinsettia Leaves that were out of stock for a little while, those are back in stock. The Shimpo, the Nedic, the hollow dies, this is what comes in that hollow die box. You get that insert, and then you get all of these different dies. There's rectangles and squares and triangles, and the circles and the ovals all come in there. We've got those on our website as well. Those are ready to ship. And really good news, I should flip the camera around and show you guys this room. This room, our classroom has been a makeshift shipping area.
Someone commented that they loved your brick wall too.
Oh, thanks.
So,
yep.
And someone else said it's beautiful if you've seen it.
Yeah, thank you.
I've seen it,
So I'm just going to flip the camera around here so you guys can see. These tables used to be completely full of orders. The floors were full of orders. Everything was full of orders. Look at all those orders over there on that table. Oh my gosh. It's kind of a relief that we don't have 1,000 orders sitting here any longer. We actually had orders that came in today. They got packed today and shipped today. The orders that are left here at this point, we've got some that are waiting for some glazes that we're waiting to come in. Our Mako order came in this week, and we were able to get a lot of orders out. We still have a few orders with some glazes. We've got a couple that are waiting for more clay cutters. These clay cutters, those are in transit now. So most of that stuff was supposed to be in the end of this week, and now I'm getting notifications from UPS and FedEx that there are delays. The Chicago terminals are so backed up right now. So it's going to be probably next week that most of those orders will be going out. We've got a couple items that we are not able to get any longer, so I'll be reaching out to some people tomorrow. Those sanding sticks that we were getting from Zem Tools, those, they can't get raw materials to make those anymore, and so they're having to discontinue those. I love those sanding sticks, but it is what it is at this point, isn't it? So yeah, put in orders. We can actually get stuff out. And the clay puzzling molds, we're all cut up on every single order, and we're starting to get ahead on those as well. We've got hundreds of them that'll be going in the kilns over the next week to be fired, and we'll have good inventory again. just in time for us to do a couple lives with Jessica from Clayshare, and then we'll probably be behind again. Hopefully not as bad as the last time. So,
Oh, gosh.
all right, yeah. So we're going to draw for the mystery box, and Janine's got the bowl here. I'm going to set that over in front of the camera. I got all my junk out of the way here, all my tools and everything, and she's got them mixed up really well. I'm going to flip the camera down here. And now, if I draw your name and you don't like the mystery box once I show it to you, you can just say that you're not interested, and we will draw another name. And the name that we drew is Kim Ramsey. And Kim, if you are here, please comment that you are here. I'm going to open the mystery box. You'll see what's in there, and then if you don't want it, we will draw another name.
Oh.
So Janine's watching to see if Kim is in here. And I told you the mystery box tonight has a little bit to do with what we're doing tonight, and it also has absolutely nothing to do with some of the stuff that we're doing tonight. So there's all kinds of stuff in this box. There is a set of really good quality dry brushes.
Oh, she's here?
She's here. All right. So let us know, Kim, once you see this, if you want this box. There's a nice set of flat and round dry brushes. These are very good quality bristle. Royal is coming out with lots of new dry brushes and improved quality on the dry brushes. We've got some acrylic colors in here. So the bat that you saw flashing on the screen behind me was done with acrylics and dry brushing. So I threw in a black base coat, some white, some purple, some turquoise in here, so you get those acrylic colors. There's also this cool set of tools. This has some ribbon tools. It has a drill tool, some wooden sculpting tools, a hole punch tool, a needle tool, and one of these texture tools like I was using tonight. There's also, I mentioned that the Poinsettia Leaves are back in stock. There's a full set of the Poinsettia Leaves. She already said she'll take it. And you're also getting, nobody else has seen these yet. These are not on our website yet, but they are in stock, and we'll be adding these. These are new holly leaves. And the holly leaves, I was going to originally do the new oval-shaped trees. This is a new oval shape that we're going to be coming out with. I was going to do those with the poinsettia leaves, but that's not quite big enough for it. So I'm going to do holly leaves on that one. And then we've got another cone coming out. The poinsettia leaves will work on the current cones we have, and so will these. But I think these will look really cool on that oval tree with all holly leaves for the branches on the tree. So you've got a set of those as well. And then you've got a couple of the egg clay puzzling molds. There will be Velcro straps in here for those as well. And then you got one of the 3.5 inch or 3.25 inch sphere molds that's in that box too. So Kim already said she wants it, so sorry to the rest of you. That is not an option for you. But all of these items are available on our website, learnfiredarts.com, and we have a section in there that is all live event specials. We try to group everything that I show that night in that area. So look for that in there, but there's also hundreds and hundreds of other items in there as well. And so feel free to go and place orders on that. Kim, what you'll need to do is go into the website, learnfiredarts.com, click on the shop, and then in the live event section that'll come up first, there's pay by dollar amount. Just go in and enter 50 as the quantity in there, and then fill out your shipping information, and we will get that shipped out to you probably tomorrow if you pay for it tonight. So thank you everybody for joining us. Oh, more questions?
Somebody asked when are they going to be available, but I was looking for something and I didn't know what they were talking about.
Oh, so somebody made the comment of when will they be available. It might be the holly leaves.
Maybe.
I'm going to try to get these on the website yet tonight. I tried to get it done earlier this evening and got the new egg assortments and sphere assortments up there. And until I opened this box, I totally forgot that I had these, and so I'm going to get those up there hopefully tonight.
oval trees and poinsettia leaves also?
Poinsettia leaves are all on the website now, and those should be in the live event section. We usually put the newer items and then the things that I use in the live in there. The oval tree, that mold is not done yet. We've had some challenges with that, but hopefully next week we will be starting production on that. Since I'm all caught up on orders now, I'll actually have time to do some other things, which will be kind of nice.
Okay, and Jenny Novak, I am looking for the link to the slab roller, and I'll post that, or Mike will.
Okay, yep.
All right, thank you.
All right, so we'll be back. This is going to be every other week. We're going to be doing it at 8 o'clock Central Time for probably the rest of this year. And like I said, we'll be doing some cool things with ClayShare. If you're not familiar with ClayShare, check out their website. Jessica and Kevin do all kinds of great free classes as well. They've also got a paid service where you get extra content and things. And I'll be doing 2 things with her. And I'll give you a little hint. One of them is going to be raku. So I know a lot of you have been looking forward to that. We've got our new kiln and stuff set up out here. And I'll be showing you how to do it with electric kilns. And I just bought a manual kiln with switches with a kiln sitter, because I always get people asking, well, how do I do raku with a manual kiln? I've got an older kiln. I'll show you how to do it on there. I've also got a gas kiln, and so there's all different ways to do raku, and so I'm looking forward to showing you guys that, and I'll be doing some cool clay techniques too that I'm working on the techniques right now. So look forward to seeing you guys back in 2 weeks, and take care, and thank you for joining us.